Hello y'all, this is your 6.7 notes video. Go ahead and throw your name on here. Today we are looking at vertex form. So we are taking a break from standard form, which is that ax squared plus bx plus c, where it's just everything in order. And we are looking at a completely different form of a quadratic that we are going to graph in a completely different way. This is kind of just like a one-off lesson that's just kind of tucked in here, but it's its complete own thing. So vertex form of a quadratic is this form here. F of x equals a times x minus h in parentheses squared plus k. So that is our vertex form. And it is called vertex form because from this form, we can find the vertex without having to do any math, use any formulas. We just pull it right out of the equation. So our vertex in vertex form is the point h comma k. So our h comes from right here, and our k comes from right here. Then we can find our y-intercept by plugging in 0 for x, because our y-intercept is always where x equals 0. And then we are just going to use those numbers, those 2 points, plus we'll reflect our y-intercept. We're just going to use those 3 points once we get them graphed to graph our parabola. One more thing that we can know is we can use this a value right here to know whether our parabola is going to open up or down. The parabola opens up if that a is positive, so opening up looks like this. It opens down if that a value is negative, so opening down would look like that. Okay, so again, we are able to just identify our vertex with that h comma k. Once we get that vertex identified, we can also sketch on our axis of symmetry because we know our axis of symmetry goes through our vertex. So we know our vertex is in the middle of our graph. Then we can plug in that 0 for x to find our y-intercept. And we can graph that. And then we can reflect our y-intercept. And then we'll use those 3 points to make our graph. So one more important thing to mention before we get started on our examples is this minus in our formula. So if you see right here, this is x minus h. Because that subtraction sign is there, if we're going to leave it behind. So in our first problem here, our h value is 2. That's going to be positive 2. Our k value is negative 3. We leave behind the negative that is with that h value. So that's our vertex in our first point, is that h comma k. If we want to go ahead and graph that, we can. That's going to be at 2, negative 3 right there. And I'm also going to go ahead and sketch on our axis of symmetry, just a vertical line through that. Okay. Then we're going to look at whether this opens up or down. Because this a value right here is positive, this opens up. Okay. Then here's the one piece of math, the one thing we need to solve out is we need to plug in 0 for x in order to find our y-intercept. So we're going to take our whole equation, and we're going to plug in 0 for x. So instead of 2 times x minus 2, it's going to be 2 times 0 minus 2 squared minus 3. Just like this whole unit, we could work that out by hand or we could throw it in our calculator. If we work that out by hand, we would need to do our parentheses first. So 0 minus 2 would be negative 2. Negative 2 squared would be positive 4. And then we would do 2 times 4 to get 8. 8 minus 3 to get 5. If we wanted to throw that in a calculator, which is what I would recommend, we would need to open our calculator again, which I keep closing between every video. Split view, so I know what I'm plugging in. Clear. Okay, so I would be plugging in 2 times 0 minus 2 squared minus 3, and I would get 5. Awesome. So that is our y-intercept. We are going to graph that on our y-axis up here at 5. And then the last thing that we're going to do is we are going to reflect the y-intercept. I have a little checkbox here so we can just check it off and remember that we did it. And so we are currently 2 to the left. I'm trying to get my laser pointer. We're currently 2 to the left of our axis of symmetry. we'll go 2 to the right, and we'll put a point there. So right there. So once we get those 3 points, we can connect that all into a U shape. This one opens up. It's going to be a U shape opening up. Okay, one of my dogs is running downstairs, so if she barks, I'm sorry. Just trying to warn you so she doesn't jump scare you. Oh, Eliza, you don't need to bark at anyone. All right, we've got one more problem to get done before my dog goes crazy. Okay, second problem. F of x equals -4 times x plus 1 squared plus 2. So in this problem, my h value is -1 because I need to leave behind a negative. So this x plus 1 here, we can think about that as x minus -1. So my h value would be -1, my k value would be 2. So if you want to just think about this number here always being the opposite sign. So it's negative here, it's going to be positive here. Since it was positive here, it's going to be negative there. That's the easiest way to think about it, is that h is the opposite sign. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and graph that. -1, 2, so left 1, up 2, put a dot there. I can also graph my axis of symmetry. Okay. This problem opens down, and I know that because this number here, my a value is negative. So since my a value is negative, it opens down. Okay, now I can find my y-intercept by plugging in 0 for x. That's going to be -4 times 0 plus 1 squared plus 2. We're going to go ahead and plug that in. So 0 plus 1 would be 1. 1 squared would be 1. -4 times 1 is -4. And then -4 plus 2 would be -2 still. Okay, if I want to do that in a calculator, I could. Split view. We would do -4 times 0 plus 1 squared plus 2. Now we get -2. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. There we go. All right, so I'm going to graph that. It's going to get graphed at -2, and that's just 1 to the right of my axis of symmetry, so then I would go 1 to the left of my axis of symmetry. And then those would be my 3 points I would connect into a U shape. Oop, there we go. Reflected, check that off. Okay, so that is it for 6.7 notes. You guys can go ahead and get started working on your assignment.